What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicy Jet Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Rooney, and we are here in beautiful Naples, Florida, getting ready for the 0-3 New York Jets to play against the mighty 0-3 Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football out in Miami. It's going to be an interesting one, and we got a lot to talk about. This is our pregame episode, so hopefully you get to listen to this before you either turn on your TV, watch the game, or stroll right in to Hard Rock Stadium on Monday night. But what I want to do is kind of walk through what this week has been like for me, a traveling Jets fan on the road, going from Tampa Bay to now going to Miami and staying down in Florida the whole time. Then we'll talk a little bit about the news about each team, things that's going on especially in Jets land. There's a lot happening. We'll set the stage for what the game looks like. We'll talk about the offense, the defense, what we need to see, and then, of course, the three keys to actually winning this game. So let's start off. This has been an awesome week. Obviously the Jets, of course, crushingly do not show up for like 3/4 of that Jets-Bucks game. Then all of a sudden, for a minute and a half span, have like the most exciting game of all time, and then end up losing and falling to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in really disappointing fashion. We fall to 0-3. Obviously, I'm annoyed because I don't want to be 0-3. We need to win some of these games. And from there, what happens is, we bounce around Tampa a little bit that night, and the next day we travel right back down to Naples, Florida, and I've been in Naples for the entire week waiting for this game to then travel over to Miami. So, trying to go to all 17 games this year, you got to find places to travel whenever you can. So it's been nice to be down here, and it feels like I'm living the retirement life. I worked a few days and then took Friday off, played some golf. We've gone to the pool. I played golf twice. And today was an especially interesting day because today there was no Jets on. So I finally, for the first time, got to enjoy a Sunday of football. But unfortunately, that turned very quickly because it was like, great, the Ryder Cup's going to be on. I'll watch the Ryder Cup. USA gets blown out in the first 3 days of the Ryder Cup. Sunday, I didn't really watch because they almost stood no chance. I heard they made a nice comeback, but I didn't care after that because it was so disappointing. Then, I'm also a huge Mets fan. As you guys know, we used to do gym breaks on this podcast where we would talk about the New York Mets and where they stand. And they had one of the biggest collapses in MLB history this year. And, of course, in a game where they must win, must score runs, they needed the Reds to lose. The Reds did lose. And what did the Mets do? They get shut out by the Marlins. Couldn't beat the Marlins this year. Don't make the playoffs. And it was probably one of the most disappointing seasons in not only Mets history, but probably baseball history. And, now we're eating it from the Yankee fans, and that's how it goes. So that's been horrible. So really, in a day that should have been a nice, relaxing day where I get to watch real football teams play real football, I've just been annoyed and anxious and all that kind of stuff, just like it was the same day as a Jet game. So, it hasn't worked out the way I wanted it to, but hey, we got a couple more hours of football ahead of us, and then we roll into Monday Night Football. So we'll see how it goes. And then from there, after this Miami game, thankfully I get to go back to New York for a little bit before we head out to London. So we've got the Cowboys game this upcoming weekend. So it'll be nice to stay at home for a second, relax after these back-to-back games down in Florida. But let's talk a little bit about some news coming out of Jets land here. So there's been a lot going on. Unfortunately, the bad news is that both Quincy Williams and Marcelino McCrary-Ball both put on short-term IR, which means they're out 4 games. We knew the linebacker depth was not going to be good going into the season, and it only took 3 games for it to be exposed. So now we're really just stuck with Jamien Sherwood, who has not had the best year so far. So hopefully he can start to turn it around. He did have probably his best game of the year on Sunday, but I'm not saying that was an outstanding, play up to your contract type game. So he's got a lot of work to do. Then what we did is we went out and we signed Mark Robinson off the Patriots practice squad. He's a linebacker who was really only a special teamer. He also played with the Steelers before that, so interested to see how they use him. I'm not really sure what it's going to look like, but that should be interesting if he actually plays. Obviously, you have guys like Cam Jones, who we signed, I think it was off the Chiefs practice squad when the season started, to play mostly special teams. Now he's going to have a role. Kiko Mawagoa, who is one of our draft picks from this year, didn't look awful last week, but he's a 5th-round rookie. We shouldn't be relying on a 5th-round rookie to, create plays and start at linebacker. So that's kind of crazy. And then the New York Jets also pulled onto their practice squad Ben Neiman, who actually played under Aaron Glenn before. I think he's won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs, so he's got experience. Maybe he's someone we pull up for the game come Monday. But man, this linebacker depth chart is looking scary, and that's 4 games we're gonna have to go without these guys. So, going to be really interesting to see how Aaron Glenn decides to play this on defense. Then the other big news coming out of the New York Jets this week is we made a trade. Darren Muji, I guess, has just been eyeing some of these lower level trades that he can actually swoop in and scoop people up, where we trade for Jarvis Brownlee. Jarvis Brownlee, cornerback from the Tennessee Titans. He was drafted in the 5th round, I believe, last year. Started for most of last year, and then started again a couple games this year. I think we've been hearing from a lot of Titans fans because, I didn't know a lot about him coming into this trade. They're really pissed off that they lost him because they thought he was a good player that was gritty in the run game. He had a few penalties, and I think that was a problem, but Aaron Glenn likes that mentality where you're going to be really aggressive, and if you take a penalty or two every now and then, he's okay with it as long as you're being aggressive, and it's one of those penalties where you're trying to make a play instead of one of those stupid boneheaded mental errors. So he's really interesting. The question's going to be, where does he play? Now, obviously, Brandon Stevens has not played up to his contract so far, which we overpaid for him. I think it's very clear at this point that he's just not been what he's supposed to be. So is Jarvis Brownlee a guy that can step in and play for Stevens? I don't think so. I think Azareye'h Thomas eventually takes his spot. Where I do think Brownlee can play is actually for Michael Carter. Michael Carter's had one of the worst years of his career, and he was coming off an injured year last year, so it's going to be really interesting to see because they can just cut him at the end of this year. And I really don't want to do that. He was one of the best slot corners in the NFL, so it's sad to see him play the way he's playing, but is this a place where Brownlee can come in on rundowns and play in the slot for him, get aggressive in the run game, then we can put Michael Carter in some of those nickel situations on 3rd and long, things like that. So I don't know what they're going to do with him. He's actually hurt right now. I think he was in a boot when we traded for him, so he's not going to play this week. We'll see what he looks like in the next couple weeks, but give props to Muji. Like, these trades have really worked out. I think if you look at Harrison Phillips has played really well. He had his best game last week against the Bucs. I think you look at Javon Briggs. He played really well. I think he's actually going to be starting next to Quinnen in the next 2 years, so that's really exciting. And then we'll see how Brownlee plays out. So props to Muji on the trades, but the fact that we have to make these trades now is an issue because our free agents and our draft picks haven't worked out so far. So we'll see how it goes with Jarvis Brownlee. I think those are the big news in terms of trades and things like that. The other big thing is injuries going into this game. No Jermaine Johnson once again, so we're already out Quincy Williams, Marcelino McCrary-Ball. Now Jermaine Johnson is not going to play. That's a big one because we just have no edge depth, and every time Jermaine Johnson is out, that's another chunk of downs that now Michael Clemens has to play. So it's a killer. We got to get him back, especially, you've got high-powered offenses coming up. Like, although the Dolphins haven't been good, they're really fast, and they've got a good running game. They've got fast receivers. If Tua's on, we could get torched, and Jermaine Johnson needs to be there. So sucks to not have him. The other one is Kene Nwanwu. I don't know what's up with this guy. Every time he plays a football game, he gets hurt, and we haven't seen him since week 1. And we only saw him one game last year, so really disappointing that he was supposed to be our spark on special teams, and now we have no special teams juice when it comes to the return game. So massive problem that we can't get Nwanwu playing. So those are the 3 big injuries: Brownlee, Nwanwu, and Jermaine. Hopefully they bounce back for the game against the Cowboys because we need as many reinforcements as humanly possible, especially with our linebackers down. All right, so now let's set the stage for this game here. There have been a ton of games in this rivalry that have been outstanding football games. You can see behind me, I've got the Monday Night Miracle, Jumbo Elliott juggling the ball into the end zone to come back from a 30-7 deficit, down 23 points in the 4th quarter, to then win in overtime with a John Hall field goal. So massive game. There was also the Fail Mary, the Tim Boyle Fail Mary, where before halftime throws it into the end zone and they run it all the way back for a touchdown, the Dolphins. There have been just the fake spike game with Aaron Glenn, where Dan Marino fakes the spike, throws it right to the guy that Aaron Glenn was covering. And he actually was funny this week and said, I don't even remember it because I'm a corner. Because, you got to have a short memory as a corner. So I thought that was funny. There have been some crazy games, and this is going to be a really interesting one because this is 2 0-3 teams that are absolutely desperate for a win. I think if the Dolphins don't win, they could fire their entire coaching staff come Tuesday. If the Jets don't win, the fan base is going to be in a tizzy. We can't lose to the 0-3 Dolphins. So for me, I'm declaring this a must-win football game. We can't walk away losing to the 0-3 Dolphins. I just think there's not going to be enough energy and excitement around this team and around Aaron Glenn for this year. That doesn't mean we're giving up on Aaron Glenn. It just means this year is essentially over. Once you're 0-4, you're playing for the bottom. You're starting to refresh Tankathon to see where your draft pick's going to be. So this is just one that I feel like we have to have, and if we can't get it, we got to play really well. So I don't know. This is a tough one. There's a lot of pressure. And I think the big thing is Justin Fields is coming back. So talk about pressure. This guy just comes off a concussion after playing where he was 3 for 11 with a 1.1 QBR against the Buffalo Bills, now come in and play in what, I consider a must-win game and, lead us to victory. That's a really tough spot to put a quarterback, especially one who's only played one real game so far this year, 1.5 games, I guess you'd call it. So yeah, this is a big one, and I think the Dolphins have a little bit of an advantage here. Number one, they've been off for 12 days or something like that. They played 2 Thursdays ago, so it's been a long time. They've had a lot of time to get healthy and kind of game plan for what we're looking to do here. So they have an advantage there. Obviously, they're home at Hard Rock Stadium. Luckily, it's at night, so it's not going to be as hot. It'll be a 7 p.m. kickoff, and yeah, like I said, they're super desperate. So, and they played pretty well against the Bills. We did not come anywhere close. They actually fought and had a chance. We did not. So, we'll see how it goes. I would say, for me, when I look at the offense and the defense, on offense, we got to get the offensive line rolling again so we can run the ball. I mean, we can't have Justin Fields coming in just slinging it around the yard his first game back from a concussion. So I want to see the offensive line gelling. I want to see Breece Hall. I want to see Braylon Allen. And I definitely want to see Isaiah Davis. I think all three of them can be used in both the passing game and the running game throughout this game. So need that. Has to happen. I think Justin Fields has got to get his legs cooking again. I want to see more RPOs and things like that. And he's got to hit the easy stuff. When Garrett Wilson's wide open, you got to hit him. That's what a quarterback needs to be able to do. There's no excuse for missing someone who's wide open across the middle. So got to see it, Justin. From the wide receivers, please someone step up. Please, someone besides Garrett Wilson. I know Josh Reynolds is back this week, so we'll see if that provides any juice at all. He's been MIA. He was MIA that first game. We haven't seen him since. Tyler Johnson has been out there. He was open a few times. He dropped a huge pass last week. Got to do something. Allen Lazard, I don't think he even caught that touchdown pass last week. So we need something out of him. And then let's get Mason Taylor more involved. He's a guy who's just he should be a weapon for us, and we just haven't gotten him the ball enough, except in garbage time. So time to get him involved in the offense a little bit. Same thing with some of these other tight ends. I'm seeing these guys sit on the sidelines like Stone Smart. I'm like, when are we going to get this guy the ball? He looks so good in preseason. He looked good with the Chargers. I don't understand why we can't give him the ball at all. And then finally, Jelani Woods. This guy is like 6'8". He's massive. You telling me we can't use him for anything? He's just going to stand on the sidelines the whole season? So man, I just want to see this offense cook a little bit more, and it just hasn't so far. And that it starts with the offensive line and the running game. So we'll see how that goes. Defensive side of the ball, we got to get off the field on third down. It's like insane that it felt like every time the Bucs had the ball, we couldn't get off the field last game. So it's about time get off the field. I want to see the D-line cook a little bit. We need a big, especially with Jermaine Johnson out, we need a big Will McDonald game off the edge. Same thing with Quinnen. Quinnen's been playing unbelievable this year. We've got to see him and Will McDonald just terrorize Tua, because once Tua's under pressure, that's when he can throw picks. But if you can't get to him, then we're in trouble. I would say, too, we need a turnover. We still have no turnovers this year, which is absolutely insane, and neither do the Dolphins. So someone's got to turn the ball over. It's kind of embarrassing that these two teams are going into this game without any turnovers at all. And the secondary has to play better. We need a good Sauce game. I'm a little worried because these wide receivers, both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they torch us every time we play them. I've seen Sauce play well against Tyreek, but Waddle is always wide open on the other side, so I'm very nervous about Brandon Stevens. I'm wondering if Azareye'h Thomas can get in there and start to rotate a little bit, because Brandon Stevens just isn't it. And then the safeties, is Tony Adams going to come back and play? Is Malachi Moore going to be playing a lot? Cisco's looked really bad. He had a bad game last week, so what are we going to get out of him? I'm very nervous about this defensive performance this week, especially against an offense that can be very explosive, especially with Achane, Tua, Waddle, and Hill. So we'll see how that goes. But defense, you really got to buckle down this week. We can't be giving up 30 points a game anymore. And then specials, Nick Folk's been really good this year. Austin McNamara has been quietly the best punter in football, which is great. I mean, our kick return game, just don't fumble. I mean, if you have to, I would just take a knee every single time, call a fair catch every single time. Let's get the ball at the 30, and go from there. Punt return game, just don't fumble. That's it. We cannot be turning the ball over. So that's what I'm looking for in this game. Now let's talk about what it's going to take to actually win. So 3 keys to the game. Number 1, we just talked about it. Need a turnover. Defense, you got to step up. Tua is highly likely to turn the ball over if you can get pressure on him. So got to get in his face. Got to turn the football over. And you have to convert. When he fumbles, recover the fumble. It's insane how often people fumble around us and we don't recover it. When he throws a bad ball and it's right in your hands, pick it off. Like, it's so simple. Like, those are the things that change a game, and that's why we're not winning football games right now. So it just feels like we never get turnovers, and it's time. It's time to get a turnover. Aaron Glenn's the head coach. He's defensive-minded head coach. Let's get a turnover. Secondly, Breece Hall touchdown. If Breece Hall scores, we win. I need to see the Breece Hall of rookie year. Where has that gone? It's just, we haven't seen it at all. He had a pretty good first game, and then the last 2 weeks he's just been invisible. He has had 8 carries for 21 yards. We need a big Breece game, and that also means getting him involved in the passing game. It doesn't necessarily need to be a rushing touchdown. Let's get the screen game going. Some of these best teams in football, look at Bucky Irving. Look at guys like that. Look at look at Kyron Williams. Look at folks like that. Christian McCaffrey, obviously he's the standout. Gibbs. They're all involved in the passing game and the running game. They're getting the ball constantly, and we just don't do that with Breece. And he's too good to not do that with. So get Breece Hall a touchdown, and it's going to help us win the game. And then finally, defense cannot be giving up more than 30 points anymore. So I'm saying you got to give up less than 17 points, and we will win the game. Less than 17 points, get a turnover, Breece Hall touchdown. Those are the 3 things we need to actually win. And I feel good about it because when those things happen, we play well, and we just never get those things to happen this year, and it's really been disappointing. So overall, let's go into the predictions. So the predictions, we got, once again, 2 0-3 teams, desperate for a win, a coaching staff that's on the hottest of hot seats in Miami, a coaching staff in New York that's already getting pressure from the fans because it's been a rough go. Steve Wilkes getting pressure from the fans and the media. Aaron Glenn doing dances on the sidelines, talking about moral victories. I love the dances. Let's dance to a victory. I want to dance to a win. But, unfortunately, in my mind, Miami is an absolute house of horrors for the New York Jets. I have gone to Miami for the past 5 Jets Dolphins games, and it has been one of the 5 worst experiences of my away game road trips. Every time I go there, either we get blown out or we lose a close game, and I am getting tortured by those fans. They are so mean. They are the worst fan base to deal with. Out of all the games I've ever gone to, I have dealt with so much trouble with them. It's at the point where they just scream at you for you sitting there, at the point where it feels like they're going to hit you, and you're not even doing anything. You're not even speaking because there's nothing to yell about when you're a Jets fan. So they're just a terrible, terrible fan base, and it's torture for us. And every time we go, it's a loss. So, in my mind, I think the Jets play a decent game. I'm very worried about the defense. I'm very worried about the secondary. In the end, I think the Jets on offense look competent. I think Justin Fields bounces back from that game against the Bills, but he's not up to that Steelers level. And unfortunately, the defense gives up too many big plays from Jalen Waddle and from Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane, and we lose. I've got the Jets losing to the Miami Dolphins to fall to 0-4, 27-24. If the Jets go to 0-4, that's going to be big trouble for this team. Then you got to play the Cowboys with another high-powered offense where our defense can't stop anybody. Then you got to go to London and play against a Denver team that should be playoff caliber. You can't be 0-6. So, although I'm predicting them to lose, I can't predict them to win until they show me that they can win. I don't know that they can win yet. I haven't seen it once. And I don't know anyone who should be picking the Jets at this point because they're, once again, one of the worst teams in football, and they haven't shown anything yet. So, please, New York Jets, please pull out a victory. I can't be doing this without some wins under our belt. I really think this stretch is just so critically important. Dolphins, Cowboys, Broncos. Then you go Panthers, and then I believe it's Bengals, Browns. There are winnable games in those next 6 games. You gotta win at least 3 of them, I think, to make this a real season. So please, do your best, pull it out, and let's bring home a victory. For those of you that will be at the game, I will be behind the Jets bench. I don't know where I'm tailgating yet. I think I'm in the orange parking lot somewhere. But before that, there's an event for Badlands. If you want to go, I think it's kicking off at 5 o'clock. I'm going to try to make my way over there. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it, but it is at Shankstown Tavern in Cooper City, Florida. It starts at 5, and it's before kickoff. They got merch giveaways, all that good stuff. So those are my friends over at Badlands. If you want to go, swing by. I think there's going to be some of those podcasters there too. So yeah, it should be a good time. I know Gotham City's doing a tailgate as well. So if you're there, hit me up on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, JuicyJet25. Please like, subscribe, rate, review, all the good stuff. And let's bring home a Jets victory. I know there's going to be a lot of Jets fans there. Let's bring home a Jets win. Go Jets. See y'all tomorrow night at Hard Rock Stadium.